Today, what we are exactly going to see about is a retinal detachments. So, we had discussed about diabetic retinopathy, macular edema, how significant OCT and FFA plays a major role. Okay, so in today we'll just discuss about retinal detachments. So we had discussed this before. What is retinal detachment? So now we'll just discuss about what are the different types of detachments and what are its clinical significance. Okay, so here, okay, so what exactly we are going to see in this particular class is the definitions, types, epidemiology, then risk factor, signs and symptoms, diagnostic test, and the treatment options with pertinent to retinal detachments. Okay, so coming to the definition, what exactly the definition is, this a retinal detachment is a separation of neurosensory retina from RPE. Okay, so which is caused by the failure of forces that attaches neurosensory retina to RPE. So we all know neurosensory retina and RPE are attached. When the force that fails, or it is like when there is a traction opposite force, that might lead to a detachment of retina. Okay, the other thing is there might be a subretinal fluid which is accumulated, and those fluid would uh, attribute to the potential space, formation of potential space between RPE and the neurosensory retina. So that would again have a problem here. Just a second, notice. 1 second. Okay. So we all know here there is a, this is a retina and then this is a RPE. So there is a detachment of a retina, that is called a retinal detachment. So it can be either due to force which is pulling this away, or there might be a formation of fluid accumulation in this space, which is again separating separating the RPE from neurosensory retina. Okay, so this is a definition. And coming to why it is important, why the RPE and neurosensory retinas should be important. We all know that RPA, it provides almost 1/3 of a blood supply to the photoreceptors. So when there is an detachment of a RPE from neurosensory retina, the entire blood supply is lost. So there is a demand for oxygen and nutrition. So there will be a hypoxic attack, and there other that which will lead to other complications. So this is the reason why neurosensory retina and RPE is supposed to be attached, because all the supplements are passed through the retina through RPE. We should know it is like RPE is the nursing cell of a retina. So that is the reason why they should be intact for a better supply of oxygen and nutrition. Okay, so just think, if the entire, this is the this is RPE, and here is where the neurosensory retina is going to be. So here when there is a detachment, so entire RPE and photoreceptors are detached. So here this is the reason where we will not have a proper good supply of blood. Okay, coming to the types, the retinal detachments can be divided into two major types, which is primary and the secondary. So under primary we have rhegmatogenous retinal detachments. Okay, what is rhegmatogenous retinal detachment is, it develops due to retinal break. Okay, so when there is a break, it is like it might be due to a trauma or something, some external force as well. So this is going to have a problem, and then when there is a break in the retina, the vitreous contents will start flowing into the retina, and then they will start accumulating between neurosensory retina and RPE, and then that will detach the both the structures. So that is called as rhegmatogenous retinal detachment. So this is a most primary, and then it is called as acute posterior vitreous detachment. Then comes the secondary part. Secondary part is due to traction. So when there is an elongation of an eye, in case if there is an if the patient is highly myopic, there is an elongation of the eye. So that is going to have a greater that is going to stretch the retina. So when there is a stretching, there is a pulling of retina by the vitreous. So what will happen here is, just think, it is like, just consider eyeball to a balloon. So when you pour in more water, what is happening is it is stretching. So there is an extra, it is getting thinned out, and then there is a force which is pulling the retina away, RPE away from the neurosensory retina. Okay, so that is the reason why we get a tractional RPE. Okay, it is like there is a traction, there is a pulling. So that is called as tractional retinal detachment. Then it is an exudative retinal detachment. What is exudative retinal detachment is, there will be a subretinal fluid which is getting accumulated under or between under the retina. So it is like, the major difference between rhegmatogenous and the exudative is, in case of rhegmatogenous retinal detachment, there is a breakage, and that is going to because of the breakage, the vitreous contents might flow into the retina, and then that is going to cause a detachment. Whereas in case of exudative detachment, let me say if there is a leakage in the blood vessels, and then within the retina, that is going to segregate. So that is a major cause of retinal detachment. This is a major difference between a rhegmatogenous and exudative retinal detachment. Okay, so I think this image would give you a better detail. So this is like, then at starting there is a breakage and there is no retinal detachment. So in case of a rhegmatogenous detachment, what is happening here is, there is the liquid contents are going in through this, the vitreous contents are going in through this, and then they are forming a cavity here. So that is going to detach RPE, detach the retina, and this is called as rhegmatogenous. This is a primary condition. Okay, what is secondary condition is, in case of a DR, what will happen is, there won't be breakage in the retina, but there will be accumulation of a fluid or accumulation of a blood, so which is going to push the retina here. So one more thing is, the major difference between tractional and exudative is, let me think, this eye is getting elongated, but the vitreous is not going to increase its size based on the size of the eye. So what is happening here is, the vitreous is strongly attached at the anterior portion. When it comes to posterior, it is only attached at the optic disc and the macula. So here, these are the weaker spots. So when this is attached here, this part it is normal. So let me just consider this eye as a normal. So here it is normal vitreous is there. So vitreous is going to take up this shape, confined shape. So when there is an elongation, what will happen is, this part will alone start growing. So what is happening here is, this vitreous will track the retina, and then there will be a detachment here. Okay, so this is pulling of blood vessels, pulling of retina, and then that is called as tractional retinal detachment. So this is a major difference between a tractional and exudative, whereas in case of exudative there is a direct fluid accumulation. Okay, so I think you are clear with this. So then coming to rhegmatogenous retinal detachment, so this is how it actually looks. Okay, so see here, there is a breakage here, and then this is like because of a breakage there might be a it is like the things are going in, and then they are forming a the detachments. So this is a major difference between a rhegmatogenous, whereas in case of a tractional, just look here, as I said before, the anterior part of the vitreous is strongly attached. So when there is a pulling of a blood, it is like what will happen is, when the eye grows, or if there is a stretching, or if there is a stress over this, what will happen is this vitreous will start pulling it. So you can see it is like vitreous is attached here to the retina, and then it is pulling the retina away from this structure of the eye. So that is the reason why there is a detachment here. So this is a difference how a tractional and rhegmatogenous is going to be differentiated. Okay, again rhegmatogenous can be as we all know, rhegmatogenous is a due to breakage, and breakages can be divided in, can be a full thickness retinal breakage, and then it can be divided into two types. One is a tear or a hole directly. Okay, so tear is, it is like when there is a kind of a tear in the paper. Okay, even it is same like a tear in a paper, so that is called as tear. Then hole is, there will be a formation of a hole directly. So just like for what to say, just like a operculated per se, so something like this. Okay, so again these are the major classifications of a retinal tears. One is a retinal breakage, one is a tear and the hole, and then breakages in the retina can be further divided into U-shaped tear. It is like, why is it called as U-shaped tear is, it looks like a horseshoe shape, which is U-shaped, so it looks like a flap. Okay, so that is a that's why it's called as operculated, U-shaped. Operculated is when this flap completely torn. It is like in this case U is here. Okay, so if there is a detachment here, it is like, or it is a pulling of torn retina over other side, then that will form a complete hole. So that is called as operculation. Then what is dialysis is, this is, there will be a circumferential tear, so around the ora serrata. So around the ora serrata, it is like there will be how exactly to say is, have you seen I think you can compare that with the iris detachment. So it would almost appear similar to this. Then it is like giant retinal tear is more than 90 degrees of a tear. It is like, and then only the vitreous is attached to the anterior margin. So entire posterior aspect of a vitreous is detached. So, or there might be a tear because of a vitreous traction. So that is called as giant retinal tear. Okay, so I think you can see the images here. So here is a horseshoe shaped retinal detachment. So see here, there is the entire retina is being detached, there is a entire retina is torn off. When it comes to dialysis, see here, it is like at the corner there is a hole. Think this is a hole, it is like almost a operculated retina. I think you are familiar with the images, and then this is a thing which you have to remember for your classification of a tear. Okay, So coming back, we all know it is like this is just an epidemiological causes. So it is like prevalence is almost uh, more in number when it have a retinal breakage, because it is like in case of US there are about 28,000 cases of RD every year, which is and RD is a sight threatening condition which is which we have to consider. So it is like these are the major causes and types of retinal tears which you would which was found across the developing countries, where in case of South India this is the thing. Okay, so coming to the risk factors, what causes retinal detachment is it is a old age patient or at a increased risk of developing a regmatogenous retinal detachment due to structural changes in the vitreous gel. We know that vitreous is jelly-like substances. When due to aging, the jelly substance will turn into a liquid-like substance. Okay, so those are age-related changes. So that might lead to a that might lead to the what to say? It is like migration of vitreous into the from the vitreous cavity to the retina. So that is the reason why increasing age is again a problem. As I said before, myopia is again a problem. When there is a myopia, there it is stretching the eyeball. There is an increase in axial length. So that is again going to cause a retinal detachment. In case then when there is a surgery of a cataract, it is like we remove a crystalline lens, and sometimes we allow vitreous to move forward and then freely, because it is like in case of a cataract in the anterior segment. I think I can show the image and then show in case of cataract it is being pulled here. So when you remove this cataract, it is free to move. Okay, it might be the cause. It is like when there is a free movement, that might actually again pull the retina and then cause a retinal detachment. Okay, so that is the reason why it has to be considered during a cataract surgery. Okay, and majorly yak caps is found to be a major risk factor for retinal detachment again. So as we all know, trauma is again a risk factor, because it is like when there is a punch over the eye is undergoing a stress. So those are the things which might tear the retina. So it is like there might be a small breakage over during a trauma. So over a year or over a days, it might turn into a retinal detachment. So that is the reason it is like whenever we have a trauma history, we are supposed to look into the retina for a better management. Okay, then it is posterior vitreous detachment. It is like we know that when there is a posterior vitreous detachment, when there is a detachment of retina and the vitreous, that is might pull the, let me show the image itself. So here there is a retinal vitreous detachment. Okay, so what is happening here is there is a shrinkage of vitreous, and then there is a vitreous detachment. It is not a retinal detachment. Vitreous is detached from the retina. In case if the retina is detached from the neurosensory retina, then that is called as retinal detachment. So when there is a vitreous detachment, what will happen is there is a decrease in space. If this is also getting detached, then there is a less risk of forming a retinal detachment. When there is a, this is also going to pull this when from one or two particular points, then that will again lead to a retinal detachment. Okay, so then comes the intraocular tumor. As we know, it is like intraocular tumors would might be pulling something. Okay, so here there might be a tumor which is forming here, so this would push the retina forward, and then that will again lead to a retinal detachment. So I think, okay, so then it is a diabetic macular diabetes mellitus, which is again a causative agent for DR, and then that will again lead to retinal detachments. So okay, and one more interesting factor is we have to consider the family history of retinal detachment and other fellow history of retinal detachment. So it is like patient with for the other eye, we should make sure that other eye is treated properly, so that again if he gets a retinal detachment in the other eye, he is going to undergo many things a lot. Okay, so coming to the signs and symptoms, regmentogenous retinal detachment will have a flashing lights and floaters. Okay, after sometimes it is like patient would also have a complaint of peripheral visual defect, and this like visual defect may get progressed, and then it involve a retina in the center. So that is because it is like when you see that previous image when telling about breakage and the vitreous going, it is in the peripheral, so it is pulling the retina from the periphery, from ora serrata till to the central vision, which is the macula. So it is like when the retina keeps detaching, there will be a peripheral visual defect. Okay, in case of tractional RD also, the visual defects will be seen so often, but the thing is there won't be any flashes or floaters in case of a tractional RD. In case of excitative RD, again there is no flashes, because retina, it is like even in if you are myopic, just you will be able to see kind of worm like movement or a dusty like movement when you see into the light. So that is because of a liquefaction of a vitreous. When there is that is the age related causes, and then that is a degenerative changes. So in case of myopic patient, that will be even more, because eyes are being stretched, and then it is like there is a liquefaction of a vitreous. So when it is involving vitreous to move on, then that is you will be able to see that flashes and lights. When there is no movement in case of a ERD or exudative retinal detachment, there is no you won't see that particular flashes. Okay, so coming to the signs, it is like we will have a RAPD positive, and then the pressure might be lower compared to a normal eye. That is because it is like you have too much of space to move on, and then there will be a reduction in the retinal blood vessels, and then coming to TDR, there will be a break. Breaks are absent, and then again the RAPD will be positive. Then it is like thing here is the tractional RD progresses more. When coming to ERD, exudative retinal detachment, it has a again this will again show you RAPD positive, and then it is like here thing is, it is like you will have a exhibit a fluid respond to a force of gravity. It is like when you press on the eye, you might have some kind of findings which is not familiar with RRD or tractional RD. Okay, so what are all the tests you should do in case of a retinal detachment is, you should check for visual acuity, because unless your central retina is not perfect, you won't get 6/6. But the thing is, again, these are the things which you have to consider, at least to make sure that central is not being involved. You have to make sure that you have a fundus imaging, then make sure you take a B scan, so that it is like in case if there is a opacity, so that would give you a better structuring of the retina behind whenever there is a opacity, or whenever you can take a fundus image. Make sure your OCT is either it is there in a subretinal fluid with the help of a OCT, Okay, so then visual field, it is like make sure it is like what is their visual field, and so that you can check for the extent of retinal detachment. Okay, coming to the treatment options, it can be mostly the retinal detachments are treated with surgeries, and then when there is a small exudative kind of detachments, those things can be used with normal medications and the diet control. Rhegmatogenous retinal detachments, we have to go with scleral buckling or vitrectomy. I think I have shown you the image of how a scleral buckling is done in the previous I think part 4 or 5 of diabetic retinopathy. So I think you can see that to check how a scleral buckling is done or a vitrectomy is done. Okay, so vitrectomy is, ectomy is removing, so we are removing the vitreous cavity. So that is the thing, and then we might fill in with a silicone oil, and then so that it is going to be we are filling the vitreous cavity. So in case of exudative, it is like mostly a patient who has undergoing taking steroid medications, or it is like there are patients who come up with fluid accumulation in the retina just because they are using a cosmetics. We all make sure you consider it is like, remember that even the cosmetics which we use have a steroids, and then that might again lead to formation of fluid accumulation in the retina. Okay, so here, and then in case of a diabetic patient, glycemic control is the other option. Okay, these are the major things which you have to consider. Okay, so coming to retinal tear or a hole, it is not okay. What we are supposed to do is, in case of a retinal detachment, we are supposed to make sure that we give a laser marking so that it is not getting detached. It is like just like stitching out a torn cloth around it, so that it is tearing is not going furthermore. So that is called as, with the laser treatment, when we burn the other side, so that it is like it is melted and then getting attached, and then it is not progressing to avoid the progression. So it is just like a welding process, so that it is like if we weld all around this part, the hole will be here, but it won't progress. That is the thing. So this particular thing is called as photocoagulation. There is something called as cryotherapy. Cryotherapy is what we do is we freeze the cells. So it is like we freeze the outer cell with the probe, and then it is like that freezing of the blood vessel will leave a scar there. Once there is a scar, that will again not progress further. Okay, so here this is done under a local anesthesia again, whereas photocoagulation, it is not necessarily done. Okay, so that is the major difference between photocoagulation and cryotherapy, and these are the major treatments done for a retinal tear and a hole. Okay, so in case of a belt buckling, we all know it is like I have shown an image there, but I'll just explain what exactly it is done. So what we are doing here is, when there is a detachment, what we will do is we will like a belt around the eye, we just tie it around. So it is like, so that there is a pressure which can make the eye and the retina come in contact. So that is called as belt buckling. So it is done under local anesthesia or general anesthesia, both, and then it is like it is stitched over the outer wall of the eye at the site of retinal tear. Okay, so it is like mostly whenever there is a tear here, they go with a belt buckling. Whenever there is a tear there, it is highly impossible to do a belt buckling this way. Okay, so mostly these kind of belt buckling is done. So okay, so this is the major thing, but the major disadvantage is, it is like smaller breaks are missed. So it is like it just only covers the major breaks and then recover them, and then again the recovery time, and it is like is higher, and then when there is an stretching, the eyeball changes, then that is going to change your refractive error again. So you are inducing a refractive error. So that is a problem with scleral buckling. Okay, so this is how the scleral band is put in and then they are sutured. Coming to vitrectomy, this is like vitrectomy is done in case of a complicated retinal detachment due to pseudophakia or such conditions. So what we do here is we completely take the vitreous out and then we put a gas bubble or silicone oil into it, so that it is like the eye structure is maintained. Okay, so we all know it is like, I mean, the vitreous is pulling out. So what we do is, it is like we take the vitreous entirely out and then we put it with the artificial agents. So that would again, when we put the gas bubble or a silicone oil, that will again start pushing the retina and make sure there is a attachment. So whenever, if there is a vitreous, just like that might be pulling. So to avoid that, what we'll do is we completely take the vitreous out and then put silicone oil or a gas bubble inside. Coming to the disadvantages, thing is, it is like you are supposed to avoid when higher flying or higher altitude, and then it takes a longer time for a recovery. Okay, then comes a pneumatic retinopexy. So it is like, what it is being done is, so it is same like gas bubbles. It is done under local anesthesia. Okay, so what we do here is we just put a bubble inside so that pushes the eye directly. So we just inject the bubble inside and then that pushes it. The thing advantages here is, it is like, it is minimally invasive, and then it is office based procedure, just like how we inject a anti-VEGF. Okay, so these are the different approaches and the rate of repair of retinal detachments. So we all notice like scleral buckling has a higher retinal detachment thing to share, recovery, and coming down to pneumatic retinopexy. Okay, so this is again a paper. It is like which suggested that we all know belt buckling may perform better or other procedures. So it is like, these are the second. It is like next to belt buckling is the silicone oil injection, then is the pneumatic. So these are the major treatment options, surgical options for retinal detachments. So make sure you read on all these things so that it is better. Okay, and thank you. Just let me know if you have any other doubts so that we can start discussing about this further, and then or else you can just put it in the comment box so that we can start to discussing, or I can answer any doubts which you have.